All right, y'all, let's get through this tutorial real quick. So, yep, that's Lil Ed right there. I was always a bundle full of joy and energy. And since I was a young lad, I was always into the creative arts. I was drawing, I was coloring. I don't know what the heck I was coloring right there, but you can see how happy I was. I was definitely passionate about art. And this was the age I got my very first console, y'all, the classic Sega Genesis. We actually had a Nintendo Entertainment System in our household, but that was my brother's. Gaming with my friends and family, man, it brought so much joy to my life as a kid. As you can see in this picture, we had the magazine. We used to pull up the 7-Eleven to get the cheat codes to play classes like GoldenEye we got right here. Oh man, those were the good days, y'all. No matter what gathering we had, man, gaming was always one of the centerpieces that brought us together. I think we had some X-Men versus Street Fighter going on in the PlayStation with the NCC4 sitting in the cut. Fast forward and I graduate high school, and at this time everybody's talking about college this and college that. So I hopped on the college bandwagon and enrolled in college for game art and design. And here's where I began to explore my artistic abilities further. And before middle school, I always knew that I wanted to be an animator in the game industry. So I was like, all right, let me figure out how to move things on paper from my brain to the page and figure out how to get it moving right. In which I started animating in 3D, and oh my God, y'all, looking at this stuff, I'm like, ew, but you know, you have to start somewhere. So this is where I was doing things like spells, attacks, run cycles, quick time events, summons, you name it, anything to really explore my 3D animation skills. After endless 9 a.m. to 3 a.m. days working on my animation skills, I finally got that piece of paper everybody was bragging about, the wonderful bachelor's degree. But little did I know, y'all, that things were going to get real after my college graduation. So my immediate plan was to take my demo reel of all my best pieces, go to GDC 2012 Game Developers Conference, and go to the career fair and try my chances at getting my first animation gig in the game industry. It was a compilation of all my best action stuff, such as this Marvel vs. Capcom 3 concept of Nero doing a level 3 special. I had a couple 3-piece chicken wing combos in there, some run cycles, quick time events, death animations, and more. And to be honest, like if I can go back in time, I would probably be self-taught because college debt is pretty ridiculous, man. My school cost way too much money to learn these fundamentals, and you're trying to pass a class rather than improve the quality of your work. So then I arrived at the Baltimore Washington International Airport with my bags packed for this 5-day event, man. I was ready to hit the ground running, y'all. I had my business cards ready. I had my resume ready. I had my demo reel ready. I had my freaking bachelor's degree on me. I was ready, y'all. And once I touched base in SFO, my cousin picked me up because he was like, yo, you can stay with me, bro. Like, why you going to the event? So I was like, bet. So then I hopped on the BART train from San Leandro, where he lived at, to go into San Francisco. And man, y'all, I was pretty much at the career fair the whole freaking time. Like, I was like, man, I ain't gonna have no fun, bro. I'm gonna just focus on getting, when I leave here, I should have a gig in the game industry. I should have my first AAA gig. And pretty much at this career fair, man, everybody in a nice way was basically telling me like, yo, your work is trash. So I was like, dang, bro. But I just kept working on my animation, man. I ended up staying in Cali for like 6 months because my cousin was like, hey, man, what if they hit you back and you get an interview? But unfortunately, 6 months in, man, all I was getting back was emails like this. Thank you for applying, but we will not be moving forward with your application. And the classic, but we'll keep your stuff on file. I was like, ah, man, what am I gonna do, bro? So I ended up going back to the DMV to regroup, and I got this job teaching kids game design, as well as working in this mattress warehouse, flipping mattresses on the back to tractor trailers. And oh my God, man, I hated that job, but I had to feed myself while I was working on my animation skills and my portfolio to get better. Then I got a call from my homeboy. He was like, yo, bro, I think I could get you in where I'm at doing website design starting out, and then you could do animation for the jewelry companies that we do websites for. So I spoke to his manager, and his manager was like, yeah, that's cool. So I ended up moving to Staten Island, Shaolin Island, where the Wu-Tang Clan is from, and pretty much working in the middle of the city in Manhattan. So I did that for some time, and pretty much the manager was like, yo, I want you to just do website design. And I was like, man, that's not what we agreed on. And he was mad because I wasn't like a fast website designer. And so he was like, man, I'm gonna have to lay you off. And he just laid me off. Right in this moment, I was like, all right, man, no more wasting time on dead end jobs. I'm just gonna take a leap of faith. I'm gonna focus on my faith in God and my relationship. And I'm just gonna focus on getting my animation skills and portfolio to a professional quality to where I could get my first gig in the game industry. And that's exactly what I did, man. I went to my first global game jam at Games for Change in NYC, worked with some awesome people, and this is where I really started studying my body and how my body would move, how it would pivot, how my hip would rotate, how, overlap and follow through, timing, spacing, all of that in animation. I really started breaking things down to get professional quality pieces, man. I was seeing a lot of improvement in the quality of my run cycles. I had did a little sorcerer, wizard, fire spell thingy. And this one right here is one of my personal favorites. I love transformations in games. So I did this little transformation animation and I could really see the improvement more and more in the quality of my stuff. I really started having more confidence in like, yo, I could actually get my first gig with this stuff. So one day I went to visit some friends out in Massachusetts because I had never been there before. And as soon as I got to their crib, they was like, yo, Edwin, meet Edwin. And I was like, yo, what's good, man? And he pretty much was like, hey, man, I have a cousin who works in the game industry that maybe he can get you in where he works at. So I was like, oh, word? All right, yeah, why not? Like, he gave me his email, and then pretty much me and his cousin are emailing back and forth. And he ends up telling me like, yo, man, we got this gala coming up. I definitely think you should come. And, it'd be awesome to meet the teammates. I showed your demo reel around. People are really digging your work. And I was like, oh, word? I was like, all right, cool. So I literally caught my ticket that night for the game development gala. And I got my ticket to go from New York to Massachusetts on a megabus that night. Like, I had got my ticket. So I pulled up to the game development gala and I linked up with Edwin's cousin. And then Edwin's cousin pretty much introduced me and put me on to all his art directors and stuff. And, I was just chatting and kicking it with them, man. They got to see I was a real cool dude. And then one of the art directors, he was like, hey, man, we actually have an animator position open. You should definitely apply. Like, maybe possibly you could work with us. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'll see what I could do. One thing led to another, y'all, and the next thing I knew, I had gotten to my first AAA gig in the game industry, man. I finally got my freaking foot in the door. This is a picture of me and some of my colleagues that worked in the studio. I got to work next to some of the most talented people that I've ever met. Like, I got to meet so many new friends through my homie Edwin and my friends from the DMV. I got to meet new friends that shared the same faith as me and fellowship with. I even got to wear a cool mocap suit at work. I had one on my first cruise. Like, life was good, man. I remember that moment like yesterday. That chapter in my life, y'all. So my birthday pulls up, right? And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna knock a couple things out. I wasn't obligated to, but I was like, I just want to be ahead of schedule. So went to work, y'all, and I got an email that saying we had a meeting. So I pull up into the meeting and they pretty much was like, yeah, some projects we was working on, corporate didn't like it, so we gotta lay you off. And I was like, oh my goodness, dog, are you serious? Happy birthday to me. Wow. Really sucked, man, because I was single and I didn't have no kids or wife, but I watched my colleagues, people who I was close with, I watched them like who were married and stuff and had kids or just bought a home or whatever. I had watched them had to go through that layoff and it was tough, man. Like, I really felt for them and it really made me see, like, it really made me think because I was just like, man, corporate didn't even know these people or like meet these people who were really putting in the work. So I'm like, man, there's something not right about that. And even when I worked, when I was animating and doing things, I was like, yo, what's the purpose here? Is it just to make money, make games that for people to have fun and for us to make money? I was like, man, I want to do something deeper than that. I really want to connect with gamers and stuff. So as my lease was over for the spot that I was staying at the same moment that the layoffs happened, closing this apartment door for the final time was definitely symbolic to closing that AAA chapter in my storybook. And this, y'all, is the moment where I made the life-changing decision to actually go indie.